Hello and welcome to this episode of Microchips, and today we're doing things slightly different. We're going to start off with the repair of the front of a radio, which happens to be this International Concorde II, and as you can see it's in quite a bad way. So we're going to go through the steps that I've took to get it looking beautiful again. Now first off we need to get the metalwork off. Now normally this just comes off dead easy because the glue has deteriorated over the 40 years. But little did I know somebody had already been here before and super glued it. As you can see, the telltale white marks of super glue. So that's what made that a bit harder to get off. So now just using a flat scalpel blade, I'm just going to work and get rid of all the glue that remains, well, as much as I can, that remains on the front. So when we do come to fit the metalwork again, it should fit and lie down as flat as it can. Again, this is a slow process, but if you want the results at the end, then you've got to put the time in. So as you can see, the top of the radio is absolutely scratched to bits. The actual sides of the front aren't that bad. The actual metalwork itself is okay. It's a little bit bent from where I've been prodding and prying, but it's only aluminium, so it'll go back into shape, not a problem. So that's our two front bits separated, and I've cleaned some of the glue off the back of the front metalwork. Now this is a bit of a strange metalwork because it's actually raised. It has a raised part on it, so that's going to make it a bit difficult later on. So to start off with, we need to get this thing as flat as possible. So using some fine-ish paper, we can begin to rub it down and get it as flat as we can, and get rid of, don't have to get rid of all the old paintwork, but we just need to get rid of any blemishes that may show through a new paint job. So again, time-consuming process. Just keep on going over with the paper. It's a bit harder to do this one because of the raised area on it. Normally I'll be able to rub it flat with a block, but yeah, this one's a little bit more bit difficult, especially around the edges where the raised part is. It's a bit hard to get into, but perseverance, just keep it wet, keep rubbing, and we end up with this. So that should be as flat as we can get it. We got rid of most of the blemishes. So in my small spray area, we're going to put some primer on it. So we're just using this Tamiya fine surface primer. I'm going to put a couple of coats of this, and I'm going to put a white coat on top. Why a white coat, you say? Well, the decal that we used doesn't cover everything due to the raised area, so you'll see that later on. So next thing, we need to address this plastic work that's, yeah, in quite bad condition. So using some 1200, some water and a block, we can begin to flatten this out as much as we can. So it's just a case of patience, going over it and seeing if we can get it as flat as possible. So we are getting there now. Again, it's just patience and working it slowly. So we got rid of most of the blemishes, but as you can see there's still some marks in it. But we've got something we can do with that, because we don't want to take all the plastic away. So I've had a good look round it, and we've got these marks here, we've got some marks in the middle and a few little chips and dings. So what we're going to use is this Mr. Putty dissolved putty. Basically it's a liquid putty that you use in model making, and it's a good gap filler and allows you to sand it down. So we'll just apply it and we'll let it set, and then back to the spraying again. So we've had a coat of primer and we're going to start putting on the white as well. So after a few applications with the dissolved putty, I found a couple more areas that were a little bit damaged, so we just add some putty on that, let it dry out, and then we can sand it down again. And this has filled in most of the blemishes. Put it this way, it's a lot better than it was. So I'm just going to mask off some areas I don't want spraying, and then into the spray booth with this one, and we're going to put some primer on it, and then we're going to spray it. So a quick blast with the compressed air to get rid of any dust. And there's our first coat of primer. And the trick with this is slowly, nice thin coats, and build it up. So there's a second coat of primer. As you can see, it's starting to cover it quite well. And there's our first coat of black. So again, we're using Tamiya acrylic spray paint. Does the job very well, and it's made for plastic as well. So we're going to do a few coats of this, and we're going to put a clear coat on top to protect it, and that should just be nice. So there's our two pieces. Now you may ask why I've blacked out those parts on the front, is so they don't show through the decal when we put it on. So we're using decals from our friends at PrintXtreme. Which I've used before in my videos, so go check them out. And I've had this one custom made. Not too much additions, but we've got UK high mid, plus 10 kc, minus 5 kc, and beep on the switches, and UK for the light in the corner. And we've got an application tool there that should aid us. So I'm not going to edit this. You're going to see the whole process of the decal installation. As you can see, this decal is particularly tricky because it comes in two parts, and that second part is really thin. And now you can see why I needed the white background on the front metal work. because originally it was white, and when we apply the decal, now you can see why I blacked out those areas, so now it doesn't show. So when you actually pull the bottom knobs out, you can't see any white paint on it. So what we've done is we've wet it down with some, I'm just using Glasses cleaner, it's a mild soapy spray. We wet it so we can move it. Once we get it into position, we can then squeegee out all the liquid. As you can see, it's all starting to come out. So we'll just gently work the liquid out. Being careful not to move the decal, but applying enough pressure to work the liquid out. And I found this works quite well for decal installation. And the bit I'm not looking forward to is this second part, because this first part is dead easy. If it's just one piece and it's flat, these decals are an absolute doddle to fit. But if it's a two-part one like this is going to be really tricky. So as you can see, it's coming together nicely. So we're going to leave that for a few minutes, and then we're going to install this second piece, which as you can see is in two pieces. It does have some white on it, but we just needed the extra white for the raised area. So again, a light spraying with some mild soapy liquid means we can work the decal into place without it finally adhering. And now to gently take this off. Now again, this is unedited. It's going to be long, but this is the complete process of fitting this decal. So enjoy whilst you see me struggle with this, because this is really tricky. So I'm just trying to get it lined up as best as I can on one side. As you can see, it keeps getting stuck to my fingers, keeps coming off. But the water does help, or should we say the liquid does help stop it adhering fully. But then again, it does hinder you because it doesn't adhere as much as it should do. So it's just slowly until you get it absolutely lined up. Then you can finally just gently push it down into place. Now the really tricky part is this thin part around the edges. So again, the liquid is helping with this, but also this decal stretched a little bit, so we're having to work it back into place. Again, it's got to be the most fiddliest one I've ever done. But again, we've just got to be patient with this. As you can see, it had stretched just a tiny little bit, but we managed to get it back into place. So now we're going to try and work some of the liquid out. Obviously we can't squeegee this very hard because we'll pull the decal off. So we just got to go around and work the liquid out whilst trying not to move it in the same time. But as soon as we start to work the liquid out, it starts to adhere a bit better. It wasn't just perfect, just on the left hand side. But luckily we've managed to just be able to move it just a little bit, just to get it to sit as it should do. So I think for a first attempt at fitting this 2-part decal, I think looks like it's going to turn out okay. Again, just working it with the squeegee, working the water out. And there we have it. Still not happy with this area, it's just not sitting quite correctly. As you can see, we've got it there. And once we've done this, we just need to leave it to adhere properly. 15-20 minutes. Once we've worked out all the liquid. And there, I think that's turned out quite well. So now we're going to use a little bit of E8000 to stick it down. I've learnt in the past with this, don't use too much or else it squeezes itself out in places you don't want it to be, but use too little and it's not going to stick. So I'm just adding drops of it instead of putting a line of it in, should we say, because if you put too much in it will start to come out and then you're going to spend ages cleaning it and risk damaging your paintwork. So just a little dot of it goes a long way. Especially around the signal meter, you don't want to be putting too much because it will squeeze under and come out. I think that should be enough. And before we've done this, we've made sure we've put the red lens back over the high light, which is now going to be the UK light. Now because we've sprayed it, we've actually made it a little bit thicker around some of the areas. So we do have to push it down a little bit, which did damage the paint a tiny bit, but we managed to touch it up. So once we've got it into place, we can push it down and start working it on. And that's how I do a front refurbishment, should we say. So once I've done that, I put a piece of foam on the front of it, put a weight on it, and left it for a few hours. And there's the front. I think it's looking quite good. Anyway, stay tuned for part 2, where we actually deal with the radio. So don't forget to like, subscribe, join the Facebook group, buy me a coffee, and we'll see you in the next episode.